Hi everyone and welcome back to Chess for Charity. In this video, I'm going to show you an extremely challenging puzzle from chess.com's puzzle database. Currently it has a 1.38% pass rate. In other words, 98.62% of people fail this puzzle. Crazy, right? So take a second, see if you can figure out why this is so commonly missed. Maybe you look at this and go, hey, why isn't the answer this thing? Think about it for a second. I'm telling you that it's a 98.6% fail rate. That tells you something about that. So think about it for a second. While you're considering the answer to that, let me ask you to subscribe if you have not yet already. Half of the income that I earn in this channel goes directly to charity. So every like, every subscriber, every member, everything, half of it goes to charity. So thank you if you are a subscriber. Let's talk about this puzzle. Why is this 98% fail rate? That's crazy. Well, let's get into it. So you might look and go, okay, let's just do a quick body count here. Two rooks, a queen. Oops, colors are backwards, that's okay. And then four pawns, but the bishop has no counterpart. In other words, black is up a piece. Okay, that's important. So you really can't just make a nothing move, right? I just to throw it out there, you can't do something like a4 and say, I'm going to run this thing up the board. You don't really have the time for that because black can start collapsing, or maybe collapsing is not the right word, focusing on some key points, converging on some of your weaknesses, and will win, right? Queen d3 is the best way to do it. The engine is saying -5, just to give you a sense of what's going on. Queen takes, rook takes. Just taking it out one more step. Even if you're like, hey, I can give a check and get this pawn. Okay. Sure. But don't take it with this rook, or else you'll get mated. Just want to show this really fast, because these are the kinds of traps you can fall into without even realizing it. That's mate. Okay, it's not mate yet. They can back up, but now it's mate. So you got to be a little careful. You could take with the other rook, but then again, you're really asking for trouble here, because I can take this rook, double up, and you have pigs in the second, as Jerry would say. So that's tough. In other words, you can't spend a nothing move. That's what I'm trying to say here. You have to make a move that hits. Well, maybe you're already thinking about it. This is a puzzle. You look for checks, you look for captures, and you look for attacks. Right? Pretty much in that order. That's how I learned it. Maybe you learned it differently. Well, check-wise, you have a couple queen checks, but none of them are fruitful. They almost all can get captured directly. So that's not it. It might be worth looking at this rook check for a moment, but then you don't have a follow-up because this square is covered. So you're like, all right, what else is there? Well, the obvious move, it feels obvious, is look at this rook on a1. Rook on a1 to f1. What's wrong with this? Remember, this is a 98.6% fail rate. So you're like, why is this move wrong? Well, this move is actually the correct first move, but the follow-up you have to see correctly. And maybe I'll just give you a second. Now, this king can't do anything, right? King can't go here, can't go here, can't go here, can't go here. So the queen has to block either on f2 or on f4. The best move for black is to block on f2, right? That's what the computer would do. Let me ask you, what would you do here? Well, I'm kind of giving it away a little bit, right? Because taking the queen is a massive mistake. Why is that? Well, clearly black recaptures. And really it's just a rook and a bishop for a queen. And that's, it's not a one-to-one, right? Black is down a pawn. But that's not a decisive advantage, right? Maybe, because I looked at this variation when I was preparing for this video, maybe queen here was like, maybe I can get something here. No, they could just slide away. And the best the computer is saying is just play check and back. Like, there's not like a decisive move that really gets something. So this move of taking the queen, as crazy as it sounds, taking the queen is actually a blunder. There's only one move in this position that wins. And it's a pretty sharp move. It's a pretty cool looking move. The move is a queen move. And it's queen to e1, taking advantage of this pin, saying, hey, you can't take me. And even if they could, you could just take back, but you don't want to do that because you'd be down. But they cannot take because they're currently in a pin, right? So now you're going to take their queen, and then, or I should say, there are a lot of things to talk about. If they take you and you take back, you're on this square behind the king. And if they do something else, you could just take their queen. You're doubled up, right? Let's just say they make a nothing move, like they take this. That would be a terrible idea because now I have 2 on this. So I would take, you would take, I would take, I'm crashing through, you're going to lose this game, or I'll do something else. It doesn't matter. But there's no fancy mate. Just be sure that you don't fall for any of these kinds of tricks. So, okay, that means that queen to e1 is the killer. That's the killer. That's the move that 98% of people are not seeing. So queen to e1. Now, what does black do? Well, let's look at a couple of options. First, let's just talk about the obvious. If they take, you take back with check. Importantly, that's with check. The computer is saying king e5. Would you play that in a game? That looks so scary. But it does make sense, right? If you go this way, you're getting mated in 2. 1 and 2. So if you look a move or 2 ahead, it's like, yeah, I can't play king g6. So you have to play this move. And then from here, yeah, it's, white is saying, the engine's saying white is up +6 on the engine. It's going between queen c1 and queen takes f7. Both of these seem very appealing to me. I think personally, I would I'd probably take the pawn. I like the way this looks though, because I'm maybe threatening to hit here to either get there, depending on where the rook goes. But either way, it's an advantage, right? Queen takes f7. There's nothing that really they can do. They can check you, and what do? You just say, okay, now what? This bishop importantly cannot get here because the king is occupying that square. So the engine's saying bishop f8. Okay, deflect, maybe something like this. If they take this, what would happen? Queen f6 check, and you'd pick up the rook. Love it. If they take with the rook, well, that rook had a responsibility just a second ago. So very fancy looking moves. I love these kinds of puzzles. And there are a lot of other variations, and if you want, we can go through them, but I really feel like the main idea is to see that first brilliant move of queen to e1. The engine is also saying, just to point it out, rook d5 is a good move, but I don't really think this answers the mail, so to speak. So rook takes f2, rook takes f2, oops, queen takes. I don't understand why this is the suggested move. Maybe because it's trying to set something up, but this is a win, right? This is not a problem. Queen e4, importantly pinning. They can't drop this on you. But anyway, the key is that queen to e1 wins everything out. And I love that move because when I saw this puzzle, I was like, how is everybody failing this? I, of course, was one of the 98% of people who just would think, oh, take the queen. That's a win. I didn't really count the pieces, right? When it's a puzzle, I just look at the immediate thing. I don't really always count. But you should, because that's why people failed it. You might ask a silly question, which I almost asked by accident, which is like, why queen e1? Why not try to keep the tension with queen e3? Well, if you do that, remember your rook is hanging. That would be bad. That'd be an embarrassing way to lose. So just little things like that you'd keep in mind. But that is it for the video. If you enjoyed it, let me know. Feel free to comment, like, share, all of that kind of stuff. It helps out the channel so much. But that's it for now. Thanks. Bye, everybody.